welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Tobago. Today, we're coming to you from the village of Signal Hill at the charming Bishop's Villa. From here, we'll give you the inside scoop on some of the most recent events taking place in Tobago. We'll also take you on a tour of this beautiful property in the next half hour. So stay with us for all the details. I'm Davia Chambers and Let's Talk Tobago starts now. It is one of the most anticipated annual events in Tobago. The Tobago Heritage Festival 2022 is returning, and we'll tell you what's on this year's calendar. Tobago recently celebrated International Midwives Day 2022, honoring the island's midwives for their dedication. The Tobago Agribusiness Development Company, TADCO, held a recent consultation with farmers and agro-processors. We've got the highlights. And later, the drama production Blood Money hits the stage. All these stories and more are up next when Let's Talk Tobago returns. Stay with us.
Come, there we go to Tobago, that paradise. Mumbai, Robinson Crusoe, and it is said it's the land of tomorrow. Princess Margaret say, come to Tobago for holiday. Now the whole world say, come to Tobago for holiday.
In our top story this week, the Tobago Heritage Festival is set to return after going virtual for the past 2 years. In this story, we sit down with the Chief Executive Officer of Tobago Festivals Commission Limited to get all the details. And if you haven't booked your ticket to Tobago as yet to be a part of the festival, here are a few reasons why you should. Have a look. That's a snippet of the Pembroke Salaka Feast, and this year patrons are getting the chance to fully immerse themselves in the Tobago Heritage Festival from July 22nd to August 1st. The theme is Reflect, Rebirth, Rejoice, reigniting the flames of our legacy.
When you look at the reflecting, looking back on heritage where it was, where it has come, we've been able to go through COVID. The rebirth has to do with looking at how we can re-engineer the festival to even make it even more attractive. And then, of course, the rejoice is that we're still here and we can still certainly do that.
This year's festivities include Plymouth Juve, Miss Tobago Heritage Personality, Laketo Folktales and Superstition, Charlottesville Natural Treasures Day, Pembroke Salaka Feast, Heritage Calypso Monarch, Mariah Old Time Wedding, Emancipation Day celebrations, and the North Side Combined Talent Competition.
Castara, Lansumi, Palatave, and Bloody Bay come together, and they're doing a thing called North Side Passion. It's going to be on Castara Bay. That combined area is really about the strength of those communities working together. It's a talent competition. They actually have like a preliminary round, 2 preliminary rounds, and then they take the best of all, and they have this grand final. So it's going to be a talent competition, and there will be a lot of other guest artists that would also speak to the heritage theme and so on.
This year, a heritage micro market will also be featured.
There will be a heritage micro market in the FCB car park area all week, right? Which will showcase a number of the agencies on the island and a number of organizations and a number of vendors and creatives, right, in their own rights, who will all use that space to sell and to showcase items during that week.
For all details, you can visit the social media pages of Tobago Festivals. The Tobago House of Assembly is in the midst of pre-budget preparations. Later this month, the THA will present its fiscal request at the Assembly Legislature for fiscal 2023 before it's sent to central government. Chief Secretary, the Honorable Fali Augustine, is engaging stakeholders through a series of televised pre-budget consultations to take a closer look at key sectors of the economy. Here's this story.
Budget Day in Tobago is approaching. The Division of Finance, Trade and the Economy is pooling key information to allow the THA to detail a comprehensive budget request. That budget is to be presented and debated in the House later this month.
Over the past 3 weeks, we have been meeting with several subgroups to ascertain the needs of each sector within the Tobago economy. We have decided that we will do a series of virtual consultations to allow for greater inclusivity and participation.
The premiere episode of the Make It Make Sense pre-budget consultation program focused on the impact of the budget on women. It explored means to empower women and girls amidst modern economic challenges. Panelist and bank manager Tanil Harilal implores women to seek more innovative ways to become more marketable and self-sufficient.
While it is an important understanding to budget, it is also a good economic empowerment for women to have better choices. So some of the things that we can probably do and been thinking of is, learn a skill. So while you have the CPEP, you also have other things that you could trade. There was a nice bartering environment we had a few years back, understanding that, okay, we're not going to stay here for the CPEP, but we are doing other things to enhance and develop our living situation.
The second episode focused on the development of the creative sector, also known as the orange economy.
There's an increasing view among Caribbean governments and regional agencies that the creative industries can be an economic, or an engine rather, for economic growth and a mechanism for diversifying economies and improving global competitiveness. On account of this, there is a greater need to understand this trajectory of the creative.
Cultural icon Annette Alfred shares her take on the importance of the development of the creative sector and of the preservation of culture through education.
There was this interaction between schools, or education I should say, and the culture. That seems to be totally absent now. I am not seeing it. So my little grandchildren are suffering from the absence of that kind of training. I could see talent in especially one of them, but where is the opportunity for him? Why doesn't our curriculum respond to the call for us to learn what is ours so that we can make some money out of it?
The Make It Make Sense, a pre-budget consultation series, marries a mix of expert and layman perspectives on possible development with an interactive forum via social media platforms. I'm Ryan McCool for Let's Talk Tobago.
Midwives play a significant role in heralding the new generation, caring for pregnant women and their newborns, and they were recognized for their work on International Midwives Day. We hear more from Omadara Mills.
Every new birth that you are able to safely deliver to us is a win for our country as a whole, for the society as a whole. You basically have in your hands the ability to deliver our greatest potentials in every single newborn baby.
One of the indicators we look at is the health of mothers and the health of babies. It is actually one of the few numbers that we look at internationally to determine how healthy a society is. And you play the most critical roles as it relates to the health of both mommy in possibly the moment when she is most afraid, where she is most nervous, where she is probably most at risk. You play that absolutely critical role.
Those were some words of appreciation extended to midwives of the Tobago Regional Health Authority at this year's International Midwives Day celebrations in Tobago. On an annual basis, they play a part in the delivery of hundreds of babies on the island. For many mothers, midwives continue to support them even after leaving the hospital.
The midwives at the Scarborough General Hospital, they took care of me physically, mentally, and spiritually. They took their time to stay by my bedside many nights when I couldn't sleep. When I left the hospital after being a patient there for a month and maybe about 5 days, it was not just seeing them and say goodbye. My son, he will be 4 years old. And today, I could stand here safely and say, the nurses and the midwives at the Scarborough General Hospital has continuously been my roots.
Currently, there are 31 midwives on rotation at the Scarborough General Hospital's maternity department. The midwives were congratulated for the work they continue to do in spite of the threat of COVID-19.
The midwives have done an exceptional job during this past 2 years, having to deal with both COVID-infected mothers and non-COVID mothers. This is something that there was a bit of reluctance in the beginning, but I'm happy to say there are no issues, significant issues, with our management.
This year, International Midwives Day was observed under the theme 100 Years of Progress. The Tobago-based celebrations were done at the Scarborough General Hospital. Midwives are an imperative part of our healthcare system since they preserve the lives of our present and future generations. I'm Amadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
We have to take a break, but do not go anywhere. Let's Talk Tobago will be right back. Stay with us. Bishop's Villa is spacious. It's got 3 large bedrooms and comfortably sleeps 10 guests. There's also a full kitchen, living room, conversational space and family room. Its beautiful modern decor and wraparound exotic garden are only matched by an exquisite view. You can also sit on the oversized balcony to enjoy the ocean breeze, which seems to create calm, peaceful moments to connect with your inner self. Welcome back to Let's Talk Tobago. Now, the Telephone Workers Credit Union recently held its 72nd Annual General Meeting update in Tobago. Chief Secretary Honorable Fali Augustine believes the meeting provides a bigger opportunity for the island. We have more details in this next story. Have a look. The Telephone Workers Credit Union in Tobago recently held its update meeting of the 72nd AGM for the year 2021. Here, audited accounts and reports were presented. The meeting was hosted for members in Tobago who could not attend the AGM in Trinidad in May.
We will share with you highlights of the meeting that was held in Port of Spain. The delay in hosting the meeting, which is normally held in March, was caused due to COVID-19 related challenges among the auditing team.
I am particularly pleased with the effort that I am seeing here on the part of TWCU for the single most reason that any of my colleagues in Trinidad will tell you when I sit at a meeting and any related matter comes up at the national level, my representation and concern is always the interest of ensuring that Tobago is able to derive mutual benefit from the Cooperative Credit Union League of Trinidad and Tobago.
Chief Secretary Honorable Fali Augustine sees the update meeting as an opportunity for a Tobago perspective. This, he says, is vital in any national movement.
And given that the Tobago economy is so service-oriented, it means that really and truly the Tobago economy was not fully reopened until about 3 months ago. And so we are behind many of our competitors in the region. And I had cause recently to remind the Bankers Association of this uniqueness of our economic space. And I'm happy that TWCU understands such uniqueness and is insistent on coming and speaking with its membership.
Honorable Augustine says he has a strong admiration for the country's credit union movement. He says it's a facility that places people before profit. The Chief Secretary says credit unions have a role to play in the development of small and micro enterprises.
If we did not have the credit union movement in the country, what we would have essentially would only be big banks dominating the space. And I shudder to think what that would mean for all of us. And while I have nothing personal against the big banks, I do use their services. I understand the absolute need, the necessity for credit unions in this space to create that sort of community-oriented banking.
The TWCU 72nd AGM Tobago Update meeting was hosted at the Mount Irving Bay Resort. The Tobago Agribusiness Development Company, TADCO, continues to create an open and collaborative relationship with its stakeholders, particularly of farmers and agro-processors. In this story, Omadara Mills brings us highlights of the company's inaugural consultations, where participants learned about the various opportunities available to them. Here's more.
Shanice Charles and Shanae Winchester are co-founders of the company Dear Diet Enterprises. They've got a passion for adding value to local produce like dasheen and cassava. Over the years, they've manufactured products like seriously grounded dasheen cereal and cassava flour. In an effort to grow their business, Shanice attended the Tobago Agribusiness Development Company, TADCO's first official consultation with farmers and agro-processors. Ms. Charles and other participants learned about issues such as farmland development and agricultural incentives. She also got to know about TADCO's criteria for partnering with farmers and agro-processors. Shanice was especially excited about one of TADCO's future projects, a market for agro-processors to showcase and sell their products.
Today was really informative, especially the agro-processor incentive that they are intending to start or in the process of starting. That stood out majority for us because we are agro-processors, and we, of course, will always look for incentive that could help the business. I think the consultation that TADCO put on today between the farmers and agro-processors was very important because it helps form a form of community between the farmers, the agro-processors, distributors. It helps create a cycle and a circle amongst us.
Just over 90 stakeholders in the agribusiness sector attended the consultation. Small livestock farmer Rudolph Hippolyte shares what stood out for him during the presentations.
I think taking it and carrying it to the secondary stage where the life of the product would be lengthened, I think that is a very interesting development. And I like how they talk about identifying some products like the dasheen, the cassava, and breadfruit in particular.
The consultation was a joint effort between the Division of Food Security, Natural Resources, the Environment and Sustainable Development and TADCO.
This will be the one of many. What will come out of this is that we're going to have the data as to who is producing what. We're going to, because there's a registration, we're going to reach out to them individually and have a further conversation with them if they need funding, what they're doing, have some inspections on the farm. Because Tobago's biggest issue is consistency, and we have to fix that. But we also have to engage persons in terms of what they are doing in terms of making it better.
The consultation also featured a question and answer session that helped address any concerns from the participants. I'm Amadara Mills for Let's Talk Tobago.
Isaiah Thomas became an instant hero at the Special Olympics USA Games. He starred with the bocce ball to earn this country 2 medals. His achievement is being celebrated, while Isaiah also has some special people to thank. Here are the highlights of his return.
A welcome deserving of a king. This is how Isaiah Thomas was greeted following his participation at the U.S. Special Olympics USA Games earlier this month. He returned to Tobago with silver and bronze medals earned in his singles bocce competition. Thomas is proud of representing his country and expressed special thank yous to a few people.
I'm proud to bring back a silver and a bronze for this great country. Everyone, I would like to thank my mother and my grandmother and my grandfather for supporting me my whole life, and my sister. my teachers, my classmates. I would thank the principal for teaching me for so many years. And I'm just proud for everything all have done for me.
Buchi isn't just for special athletes, but is one of the special Olympic disciplines that provide opportunities for people with special needs. They get to enjoy social contact and gain self-confidence, while it also aids their physical development. Isaiah's coach says the athlete's success is a testimony to his hard work and determination. He's shown grit and determination since learning to play Buchi.
For the past few months here, we have been training both in Tobago and Trinidad to prepare for this national game here, America's game here. And I know he was going to be successful because he's a very talented Buchi player, always devoted to coming to practice, never complain. And I'm proud of him. We are all proud of you. And to all the people who give us support during this time, I want to say thank you.
Isaiah's achievement is also a source of pleasure for Assistant Secretary in the Division of Education, Research and Technology, Orlando Kerr. The Assistant Secretary says despite its small size, Tobago is filled with enormous talent. He says it's important to recognize Isaiah for his accomplishments.
Today is indeed a very special day. And as Tobagonians, we have to celebrate this. In the context that when you look at the island of Tobago, which is about 60,000 persons, and when you look at our athletes going out there and competing internationally with some of those huge countries that we are just simply a dot, it tells you about the kind of talent that we have here, and the kind of commitment that we have, and the kind of coaches that we have. So I want you all to put your hand together again for Isaiah.
The ceremony was held at the International Departure Lounge at the ANI International Airport. I'm Crystal George for Let's Talk Tobago.
It was an evening of laughter and reflection at the Guild House for Tobago Drama Guild's Blood Money production. If you missed it, we'll give you a sneak peek right after this break when Let's Talk Tobago returns. Stay with us. The private pool is where guests spend their evenings and late nights. But if you want to explore Tobago, Bishop's Villa is centrally located. It's just 5 minutes from the capital, Scarborough, and 10 minutes to the bustling Southwest and the A&R Robinson International Airport in Crown Point, which means it's a great option for family vacations. The Tobago Drama Guild is making the best of the relaxation of COVID health restrictions. The Guild took to the stage recently for its latest theatre presentation, Blood Money. Ryan McCool tells us more in our next story.
The aim have no simplicity here. We pay to kill. Randy, kill my dreams.
You really don't know me.
It's a Caribbean story written by playwright Cheryl Birchwood Wheeler Tabiti, which challenges the duplicity of differing social classes. A tale of one young man who falls into the trap of immoral acts in hopes of attaining a better quality of life.
You get into the whole bit of justifying when you're doing the wrong things to get what you want. So he was into stealing, he was a bandit. But then he found a way to justify it. He was blaming the 1%. Okay, they have all the privileges. What about us, the black people who get in trouble for just 5 ganja plants and all of that? But they are the ones controlling it.
The play was presented at the Guild House in Lowlands. It enjoyed a packed audience which has been yearning for the re-emergence of Tobago theatre.
We were able for this play to fill the hall 4 nights in a row, and that was amazing. As well as we got a shot in the arm from Bitter Cassava that came before. So Bitter Cassava sort of opened the appetite for more.
The Blood Money screenplay has also been receiving rave reviews to the delight of the Tobago Drama Guild as well as patrons.
It's the second time I've seen it. It improved on the second rendition. Performances were fantastic. Young and old performers, experienced performers, newer performers, all performed well. The story was very involved.
I thought the show was
quite remarkable. I wasn't sure what to expect. It exceeded my expectations.
It was beautiful, and you know what I love most? The young people. My God, you all have done well with them. The show, the storyline, everything, very good.
I love this show, but I wanted to join in this show, and I love it, and I really wanted to join in, and I really like this show, and I would love to see it 100 more times.
The Blood Money play will return to the Gill House after a 2-week break. The 3-day encore presentation is specially for schools, but you'll also get another chance to see the play during these viewings once space permits. From there, the Tobago Drama Guild will take the play overseas to the Canadian Consul General's office in Toronto. I'm Ryan McCool for Let's Talk Tobago.
Bees have an important role that goes way beyond honey production. These little insects are so much more than the threat of a sting that they are recognized across the globe, including Tobago, as you'll see in our final story. Have a look.
Bees have created enough buzz to get their own day on the world's calendar. World Bees Day is celebrated annually on May 20th. But if you're wondering why these little insects have a day, here's the reason. World Bees Day highlights the essential role of bees and other pollinators play in keeping the world healthy. It's an opportunity for governments, organizations, civil society, and concerned citizens everywhere to promote actions that will protect pollinators and help them thrive.
We join with the rest of the world in celebrating World Bee Day because these tiny insects are one of the main insects that gives back to us as humans, namely various wide range of products: honey, bee pollen, propolis, royal jelly, and various types of therapy. Also pollination, which you all know. Some people may say between 60 to 90% of our food are contributed by bee pollination, be it stainless bees or honeybees.
Honeybees produce honey, which is loved worldwide for its sweetness and depth of flavor. It is commonly used in many foods and recipes. Honey is also very popular in a range of other products.
I partner with the beekeepers, with Tobago Apiculture Society and other beekeepers to present to you this lovely display, and other stakeholders who do value-added products like soaps, creams, body butters, candles.
The island's beekeeping industry is growing, and it's not an easy job, but there are many benefits associated with beekeeping, which is why Davlon Brathwaite continues rearing his bees. He even shares his knowledge about the health benefits of honey.
We produce mainly honey and supply supermarkets on the island. Management of the hives, making sure they are well maintained in terms of the queen satisfied, have a good quality queen, splitting of hives. That's a process whereby we expand, so you can start off from one and end up to as much as you want. Honey is a natural alternative. Bees are beneficial for pollination. Most of the fruits and vegetables that we enjoy, bees have something to do with it. Also, it is said that bee stings are beneficial for persons who may have arthritis.
The theme of this year's World Bee Day events was Be Engaged, celebrating the diversity of bees and beekeeping systems. I'm Crystal George for Let's Talk Tobago.
So we have come to the end of yet another edition of Let's Talk Tobago, and as always, we thank you for watching. Please email us with your comments or queries about the program, and be sure to visit our website, like our Office of the Chief Secretary Facebook page, follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For more information on Bishop's Villa, you can contact the manager at 416-450-2484 via WhatsApp, or email them at bishopsvilla@gmail.com. From our house to yours, I'm Davia Chambers, along with the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly, wishing you a safe and fantastic week. We leave you with a montage of Bishop's Villa. Do enjoy.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
It's Youth Wednesday on the Tobago Updates morning show, which comes to you live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, and you are viewing us on M&E TV, Facebook, YouTube, 91.9, Smash Radio, and all of our various platforms. I am Aliyah Hola.
And I am Janae Campbell, your dynamic youth host. It's indeed a pleasure to be here once again on this awesome show. It's all about Youth Wednesday. Alia, how are you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling very bright and vibrant and
yes, because you're looking very bright and vibrant, very resplendent colors. So I hope that you're able to give us that same energy here today.
I will try my utmost best.
We know you have it. We know you have it.
But tell us, guys, this weekend was a fun-packed weekend for the entire Isle of Tobago, as we had Bay Weekend. There was Sting My Johnny Q, and my youth host on the side of me went to Utopia and made her name, guys. She surely enjoyed herself. Tell us, how was your Utopia experience?
Well, my Utopia experience in Speyside was awesome. I was there to conduct interviews, and somewhere in between I found time for a little enjoyment, and I think it's good to have a balance. But the show was awesome, the performances were awesome, and the vibes was nice.
And according to Jani, all play, all work and no play makes Jani and Dolgy. She's always posted too. For sure, she had fun.
Yes, Alia, what else is happening within the Tobago space?
Oh, well, it's within the country. There is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Colin Imbert, bringing into proceedings that some public servants will now be paid directly through electronic payment, which is bank transfer, and they won't be receiving checks anymore, and he will be putting into motion that they change the time span of changing of checks from 4 days to 1 day, which I think is extremely better for some people, because you have to wait a whole 4 days to get money, and persons have things to do sometimes. So I think that this is a really good initiative, and I hope that it actually comes true.
Yes, indeed. I'm quite happy to hear that news. In fact, I was unaware of the fact that there are still public servants that collect checks. I thought that the money was already sent electronically, but I'm glad that the rest of public servants can be able to experience something a lot more worthwhile and convenient.
Yes, indeed. And viewers, I now take you over to Jani with news in 90 seconds.
Thank you, Alia. Here is your news in 90 seconds for Wednesday, 21st of June, 2022. First up, Kasara shortlisted for Best Tourism Village. Kasara is shortlisted for 2022's Best Tourism Village from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. The Best Tourism Village is part of a global initiative focused on villages where tourism preserves cultures, traditions, celebrates diversity, provides opportunities, and safeguards biodiversity. Through a collaboration between the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities, and Transportation, as well as the Ministry of Tourism, all villages in Trinidad and Tobago were invited to apply. Castara among the top 3 villages on the island to be considered for the award, which will be announced later this year. Stole wig to pay debt. A man is facing 2.5 years of hard labor after he was found guilty of stealing a wig to pay his outstanding debts. 31-year-old Sherald Irvin was tried virtually before Magistrate Rajendra Rambachan at the Scarborough Magistrate Court yesterday. According to police reports, Irvin broke into Early Bird Minimart in Government House Road and stole several items including a wig worth almost $5,800. Investigations led police to Irvin's home in Blackrock where the items were recovered. He pleaded guilty to the offense. When questioned by the magistrate, Irvin said he stole the items to pay outstanding debts. Lastly, in this report, price of flour increases. Efforts are being made to ensure that there is adequate supply of flour for all citizens throughout the rest of the year, but it will come at a cost. According to a press release from the National Flour Mills, the cost of wheat went up by 49%. However, the new cost to wholesalers will go up by 33% and retail consumers will experience an increase of 28% on the grocery shelves. This means that a 10-pound bag of flour now costs $100. The price increase is as a direct result of ongoing conflicts between Russia and Ukraine. NFM, however, says this is a temporary measure until the situation changes and the price of wheat reduces globally. This is your news in 90 seconds.
Thank you so much, Jani. And this is indeed an interesting time where flour chooses to rise again. And it is a call for us in the Tobago market to tap into our niche and what the Secretary of Agriculture was trying to let you guys tap into, which is our local production of flour, our dashing flour, our breadfruit flour, all these things. It's your time as Tobagonians to tap into that field and ensure that we get exportation out of this and receive taxpayers' dollars for this. So you all can use this as an opportunity to make some dollars for Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes, support local.
Yes, I am all for it. Because, I mean, like, we only utilize this stuff when it's around blue food time. You hear everything dashing black cake, dashing flour, dashing this. Like, we can do it all year round and let persons get accustomed to it. And, I mean, the prices may vary, but I don't think that the prices will be such. And if we're making dashing flour and breadfruit flour, we could at least try to make the pure flour and get it exported and stop importing flour from Ukraine and these places, so we save some money on our hands here. But Jani, tell us what's in the rundown today.
Alright viewers, we have a very engaging show for you this morning. First up, we have Dexter Miller, Acting Inspector of the Special Victims Department of the TTPS, coming to speak to us about a very topical issue in the Trinidad and Tobago space, and that is the rise in school violence from the TTPS perspective. So make sure you are stay tuned to that interview. Alia, what else is on the rundown?
And then we have the students' perspective in that same matter, which is the rise in school violence, and that will be by Mr. Elijah Murray, who comes to speak to us on that issue. And then finally, we end the rundown with Ms. Darian Phillips, who comes to speak to us about Iwa Africa. I am really excited to see this interview. Really, really excited to see that you do this interview. I'm really excited. But viewers, we have an indeed packed rundown for you guys, and I want you all to remember to
Share the life, share the life, share the life.
Good morning.
Pre-qualification notice. Deadline 30th June 2022. The Tobago Regional Health Authority (TRHA) is updating its current list of pre-qualified contractors, suppliers, consultancy firms and sole traders to ensure compliance with the mandate of the procurement regulations of Trinidad and Tobago. All interested contractors and suppliers desirous of entering into business arrangements with the TRHA are invited to engage in the pre-qualification of suppliers registration process. For more information, visit the following link: trha.page.link/tenders.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash in transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Tobago Glass Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good share. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. We have flavors that you love, a combination special. Come along, enjoy your treats. This is Uncle Pete's.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, Tobago. It's really a pleasure to be here again. Yet another week coming to speak with you and engage the conversations that are important and that will trigger the appropriate responses to issues affecting Tobago and the country by large. So this morning, coming to chat with us, we have Dexter Miller, Acting Inspector at the Special Victims Unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and he's coming to speak to us about the issue of school violence. Good morning, sir, and how are you?
Good morning, Jenny.
And how are you?
I am good this morning.
You're good this morning.
Yes.
I'm glad that you are fun, and I'm trusting that we will have a very fruitful discussion. Firstly, I would like to ask you, what is the work really of the Special Victims Unit?
Well, Jenny, the Special Victims Unit is the collaborative amalgamation of the Child Protection Unit, the Sexual Offences Unit, and the Gender-Based Violence Unit. Commissioner of Police have seen it fit to merge the units. At the end of the day, most of our situations are victim-centered. So in order to have a better approach to alleviating the affairs of our victims, the unit is now renamed and amalgamated as the Special Victims Department, headed by Assistant Commissioner Cooper. Operations Coordinator or Manager is Superintendent Claire Guy Allen.
All right, thank you for sharing that information. But let's us get right into the meat of the matter here. You know, there's a lot of things taking place within the space nationally. And, you know, we are seeing a lot of videos and a lot of reports being put out there on social media and other forms of media about violence at schools. Do you believe that this is something that has risen to an alarming rate? You know, is it that the issue was always there, but, you know, it's now being sensitized? And what is your take on that?
Firstly, Johnny, the issue has always been there. But with the change of the society now, the COVID, the social media, the issue is now being played out in a more open way. When you say school violence, we have to bear in mind that it's not only in the school compound, it's off of the school compound, which makes it even more elaborate to look at. So basically, yes, it has always been there, but it's now being played out.
What do you believe are some of the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions on the behavior of students, if any at all?
There are. With the advent of COVID, we would have had to change rules and regulations as it governs almost everything. I believe with the removal of rules and regulations, some of the discipline and some of the measures that were in place for children or minors to behave as minors are now being set aside. And we must understand that the basic fabric of this society is stand on rules and regulations. If you remove rules and regulations, it means that you are opening avenues that you are saying, we are prepared to compromise and this is no longer acceptable. And if you examine it carefully, even under the Ministry of Education, some of the rules and regulations that govern the school, the attendance, the dress code, the way in which the student relate to the teacher and vice versa, has been set aside because of the COVID-19. So I believe some of the rules and regulations, regardless of what we do, we have to maintain that foundation of rules and regulations.
You know, it's quite interesting that you mentioned that because, you know, I was speaking with some persons and they were emphasizing that same point, that in the school presently, you know, a lot of the rules that I probably had to follow are no longer being upheld and students are basically getting a blight, for want of a better word. You know, they're able to do their own thing now, and you're saying that that has affected that discipline in our students, and that could possibly contribute to the rise in school violence. You know, in response to the recent events, we noted that the TTPS has taken a more active role in treating with violence among school children, right? And I have noted that it was released that the TTPS would be increasing school patrols. Is this something that you see as beneficial and impactful as we're speaking about violence in schools?
It will be beneficial because we are trying to get to the root cause problem of the situation. Under the Special Victims Department in Tobago, there's a team that goes to the schools. The mandate given from the superintendent through me, they must visit every institution, early childhood center, primary school, secondary school, learning resource center. And the mandate is to deliver, is to do outreach programs, to speak to the students, to hear their views on the situation, and to try to partner with the student support services, the guidance counselor, the principal, the Ministry of Education and their rules and regulations. So in order for us to collaborate and approach the situation to treat with it.
You know, what is the real modus operandi of the TTPS when treating with issues of school violence? You know, what are the steps that are taken when these reports come into your care?
Well, Janine, first and foremost, we have to apply the law. But we at the TTPS are now saying we need intervention. We need the outreach. We need to go and meet these students. We need to understand what is happening within the institution. Together with the policy of the institution and the TTPS, it's not only a punitive situation where we seek to punish, but we now seek to restore and redirect the mind of the minor in order for them to look at a different direction in where they have to go.
You know, I'm glad that you brought up that word punitive, because sometimes, you know, young people feel that, you know, we're always about discipline them and, you know, the harsh measures and, you know, you must pay for what you have done, right? But what role do you see community policing rather playing in treating with this issue?
Well, Janelle, let me say this firstly. Every police officer is a community police officer.
Right.
It's no longer the responsibility of any one section or any one aspect of the service. It is the responsibility of every police officer on duty to treat that situation, regardless of what aspect it is. Is the approach that is necessary, it's the collaboration is necessary, it is the outcome, the expected outcome is what we desire.
Right. You know, from your experience, because you said that you all have been, you know, interacting with the students and getting to hear from them and so forth, what are some of the factors that are contributing to school violence outside of what you have spoken about earlier?
Janae, we go right back to the home. It starts in the home. You have seen or you have heard instances of the children not being loved, not being properly addressed, not being properly spoken to. They are treated with hostility. It starts in the home. If the home does not put in place that same rules and regulations, the foundation that is necessary, the society is going to be the one to suffer in the end. Because when the child leaves the home and they go out, there's only so much the teacher, the institution, the police officer can do. But we are going to do all that we can to try to assist these minors. It starts in the home.
You know, I can agree with you, yes. It really does start in the home because, you know, the home is the foundation. But, you know, there are those that may argue that sometimes you train up a child in the way that they should go and they choose their own means of survival. They have their own principles and they go by their own motivation and so forth. So you see a situation many times where there are some young persons who grew up in good homes and then they still lead on a life of crime and so forth. And to me, you know, it really speaks to the effects of society because, you know, part of one's development is your environment. And so we live in a space that is bedeviled with crime. So, you know, these influences, don't you think that they can impact a young person, especially when you are faced with challenges, you know, in the face of you know, when you have these issues with your peers and so forth? Why is it that we resort to being angry and lashing out and being violent? I think that our young people are subconsciously taught that means of dealing with issues because that is what they see. You know?
Jenny, now we have to go back to the definition of what you say. I hear you with this children came from a good home. But what do you call a good home? Now, obviously, it's not only the physical provisions.
Right.
There's that conversation between parent and child, constant conversation. There's the monitoring. There's the learning and understanding your child, and vice versa, understanding your parent. To find that balance. More often than not, you find the outside influence plays a greater role in what is missing or what has been lacking from the home standpoint. And the child tends to gravitate, pick it up, hold on to it, because it gives them that sense of wanting, of being, of belonging, other than what is provided in the home. So we have to understand when we say a good home, what it is we are talking about. We have to find that balance. And I want to throw this in the mix. Where is the spiritual influence in the upbringing of children now? For me, it is not being given the recognition that it needs, where we train the children from the biblical perspective. But that's a whole new conversation by itself. Right? So,
you know, I always like to be a little controversial and choke a little fire. So, you know, as we are being frank on this issue, you know, you would realize that most of the cases of school violence are affiliated with a particular ethnic group. And in fact, there was a study conducted on this. In fact, in 2013, Hakim Williams published a study called Post-Colonial Structural Violence. And in this study, it was argued that Trinidad and Tobago's class-stratified society engenders violence. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that structurally, you know, systematically, the black child is behind?
But I wouldn't say behind. I wouldn't use the word behind. All children are born equal. I wouldn't use the word behind. But the society we live in Trinidad and Tobago is so divided for a number of factors, a number of reasons. The particular ethnic group that we are speaking about believe that they have been neglected somewhat, they are not being treated equal somewhat, and they grow that mindset. And again, from the adult standpoint in the home, they take a stand and they culcate into these children some values that are not necessary. It's not important for a child to know or to learn growing up. So again, it starts from your beginning where you came from. They give you that mindset that you have been struggling. I have been struggling. You have to continue to struggle. You can't be better than this one. You can't make yourself something. And it sets that boundary for the child that more often than not, the child can excel that capacity. So you find the African children are growing with that mentality that says, I can only meet this far in my life, and I can't do better. But there are plenty Tobagonians of African descent who have excelled, and we know them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just for us to change the way we direct the minds of the child from young.
All right, I really do appreciate your response to that question. And, you know, I believe there's some form of correlation with enslavement and colonization. And, you know, that's a big issue, and we won't delve into that too much. But viewers, you should definitely take a read of that study, because let's be frank, you know, as a society, we need to do better. And in order for us to understand why certain things are taking place, we really need to do the background and really see if we could get into the minds and get into the psychology of the children and society on a whole. Right? And, you know, coming out of this stabbing incident, we saw that the accused, right, for want of a better word, she was expelled from her school, right? But added to which, it was noted that she had laid complaints of being bullied by the so-called victim. You know, what are your thoughts on this issue?
My thoughts on the issue. We must never condone violence at any level. That's the first thing I want to say. But I don't think the level of punishment, so to speak, was justified in the situation. Now, permit me to exploit for you.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is, something has happened. There's a law in place to treat with the situation. But yet we expel the child from school. Are we not depriving that child of education now?
Mm-hmm.
Do we have the right to say, because of what you have done, you cannot come to the education institution? It's a double jeopardy situation. Do we punish the child for the action? Yes. But to the extent that we deprive them of education, have we left the child, the victim, or the accused any better than where they were? We have to be careful of the way we dispense punishment or justice.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because, you know, there are a lot of persons are calling or are clamoring for that for that decision to be revisited. Because you see a situation where this child had been reporting incidents of bullying, and to her nothing was really done to help our sister. Not that anyone is condoning the decision that she had taken, but, you know, I really think as a society we really need to be mindful of the punishments that we infringe on our young persons, because it could lead them along a path of recidivism, and you know, her being out of school can negatively impact her development. But you know, it was such a pleasure speaking with you, but again, time always limits us. But before you go, I would really like to hear what advice you have to give to us as a society in treating with this issue of school-based violence.
Give the child or give the minor a hearing. Sometimes they have a point they want to articulate. They lash out for reasons of being stifled at times. I want to advocate that parents must take the responsibility for their children. They have to do better than that. It starts in the home, and more often it ends in the home too, because when a child gets into trouble, it's the same mother and father have to be the one running up and down. The measures that we put outside of the home must balance the society with what is happening. We cannot remove rules and regulations just because of situations. We have to examine the extent of that removal and what is the root cause, or how far that can trigger the society to unravel in a way that we may not be able to control. So we have to be careful of how we dispense removal of rules and regulations.
All right, thank you so much, guys. This was Dexter Miller, Acting Inspector of the Special Victims Department of the TTPS. Such an engaging conversation. Viewers, we have much more in store for you on this topic, as Alia Holder will be coming on set to continue the conversation with Mr. Miller. And we also have a student coming on to give us the student perspective on this issue of school-based violence. Viewers, remember to stay tuned to the Tobago Updates morning show. Remember, share the live, share the live, share the live.
Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place, place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, morning, good morning.
For plants for your garden, or even a thoughtful gift for a friend, we at Eden Nurseries are waiting to welcome you with our affordable prices and variety of indoor and outdoor plants, flowers, palms, soil blends, pots, landscaping services, maintenance, irrigation services, and water features. Visit our garden shop and nursery Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. located at the back of Orange Hill Gas Station, Shore Park, Tobago, or call us 639-0776 and let us help you bring your garden to life.
This is Crime Stoppers. Please share only your crime information.
I want to report a crime, but I need to make sure it will not be traced back to me.
Caller, I assure you, there's no record of this call other than the information you give us and the tip number I assign you for you to call back and check on your reward. This system has worked in 26 countries for more than 40 years.
Help stop crime. Call Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS today. Calls are safe and 100% anonymous.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO, and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning,
Good morning and welcome back to Youth Wednesdays on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. I am Aliyah Hula, and joining us to continue the conversation on a rise in school violence is Mr. Elijah Murray, and we are here still with Mr. Dexter Miller, and we are going to have a great discussion, deliberation on this rise. So, good morning to you guys both.
Good morning.
Right. So, I would have noticed that in 2019, the ministry gave they did a media release saying that the rise in school violence before the pandemic was basically based on psychological deficiencies from students. And then in 2022, recently, which is after the pandemic, there was a media release in a newspaper on the 4th of June that said there is zero to little school violence, and then we had this whole uproar happening. So, I would like to know your take as a student. What do you believe in this philosophy that was exhibited in 2019, that most times school violence takes place because of psychological deficiencies?
Psychological deficiencies, I am not quite sure. I know that I could speak for more recently in terms of this year, where they said there were no reported cases, that would have been a result of students not really mixing as much the different student populations. So we'd have at first would have been upper school alone out prioritized in terms of those who would have been gearing up to examination mode. And later on, as things began to progress with the COVID-19, we began to see more students coming out, the different forms mixing until we had the full integration. And because of that, some of the students, having not been, especially of lower school, not being in the high school space, now adjusting, now adapting. This is where we have the different conflicts. Students don't know how to interact maybe on that level and sort it out, that conflict resolution, and so students resort to the best way they know how, which would be fighting back physical forms of violence as a way. So this would have only now started to emerge as students are now mixing and merging back as we go to some sense of normalcy.
So you are saying to me that before the pandemic, right, we had school violence, but it wasn't because of mixing?
No, because back then everything would have been normal as we used to know it, and you know, from when you leave primary school into high school, you know that there's an expectation and stuff like that. You could see other students, the way they interact and these different things. So before, the mixing was never a problem because there was like this known expectation before you. There was a known code of conduct and stuff like that before, as versus to now, where students are kind of now diving back into it. The atmosphere is different with COVID. There are different rules and guidelines. It's not everything as normal. So I believe that's the main thing that contributed to it.
All right. Changing the conversation a little bit, still on the topic, I would like to find out if you believe that reports of bullying are taken seriously, because within the last school violence incident, it was said that it was a report of bullying that happened and it escalated. So do you believe that reports of bullying are taken seriously within the school space?
I believe they are taken seriously, but not to the level that it deserves and it should be, because the procedure is that if a student has a complaint, I know students, if they feel safe or comfortable, they will go to their teacher from then the teacher would try to intervene, and if the situation progresses and becomes more serious, it would then move into the hands of a principal or the dean of discipline. So yes, there are measures in place first for cases of bullying, but they do not get the level of importance that it deserves. It's not treated as it should be.
So if you don't get through one way, why don't you go to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service?
Students, I don't think students would want to take it that far. Most of them wouldn't even go as far as to maybe tell their parents as well about it. So you wouldn't go to your parents, much less maybe the police. I don't know if there's a fear with the students making a big scene or something like that within that method. I don't know.
So I will ask Mr. Miller to comment on this same topic.
Right. I've been listening to the student. Morning, sir. There's something missing in the equation. Within the school system, there are the student support, there's the guidance counselor, there's the security guard at school. They have a greater role to play. More often you go to the institutions and you don't see the security guard, they're only in the booth just to take the car that comes in, but they have a greater role to play. They need to come out and be more visible on the compound. They need to interact more with the administration of the school. They need to have a program together with the school administration to treat with visibility, situations, response. Some security officers tell you that I am not going to get into anything that causes a physical with a student. But the issue is not the physical. The issue is putting a measure in place to have a more structured system on the compound for the student to understand, the administration to understand, and the security to understand, and the other support services to understand.
Well, when I was going to school, the security officers in my school got involved in every single incident that there were security and students fighting because they were trying to part stuff. Teachers got into fights in my school because they were trying to part stuff. It was a whole sort of thing, and then the police got involved. So it was the security, the teacher, the student, and the police fighting. So it was a whole, so like to hear this now is really interesting.
Correct.
Because everybody got involved, and at the end of the day, everybody the security has to write a report, and you get 2 year superiors because of that. The teacher have to do the same thing, and the students will get suspended or expelled. What I would have heard you spoken about was the method that the ministry or the division uses as it pertains to a child when they get involved in school violence. They don't usually choose the method of counseling or finding out what happens to the child, what went on before this whole incident occurred, but they choose the method of suspension or expelling them. What are your take as a student on that? Because he already gave his. What is your take on that? Do you believe that they should still be in school? Do you believe that they should go to counseling and still also further school? What?
Okay, I just want to piggyback on one thing the officer mentioned with the security guards. I could also attest that pre-COVID, security guards were a lot more present. They would have been patrolling the corridors to make sure students are behaving themselves there in class. Those who may not have class.
Social distancing because COVID.
Yeah, because of the COVID-19 now, securities have more separated and spaced themselves. The numbers are not as much as before from what I've seen, and the impact and presence is less. With the services that are provided to the schools, particularly guidance counseling, it is there, but it is not, I guess, not made.
Don't be afraid to speak. Call them out. Call them out today.
Yeah, it's there for the students, but it's not, I wouldn't say accessible, it's just students don't really reach out to it. It's not brought out to the students per se. As in, yes, the guidance counselor is there, but you just know that, okay, we have a guidance counselor, this is where the office is, and that is it. Students do really reach out to it. It's not really made known to the students before. And one of the issues that I had personally as a student going through the school was that within 3 years, I saw 3 guidance counselors change out. And for me, in a case of privacy, you wouldn't know that you went and tell your story and your situation to Miss in first form, and then in second form, Miss is gone, so now you have to re-explain the entire thing to another. So I think, personally for me, that is one of the issues that I would not really want to go to a guidance counselor, knowing that the rotation is being swapped out a little too frequently for the sake of students' privacy and their sense of security. But I think that these guidance counselors, students should still stay in school, you know, monitor the students, see how they are doing. If it is the case that they should not, then maybe not. They still see the counselor, but I believe that the presence of the counselor needs to be more, especially within these times where we see an increase in violence within the students. The counselor's presence needs to be there. The staff and auxiliary staff as well need to make sure that they know that the presence of the counselor is there and that students could reach out to the counselor if they need to.
All right. Mr. Miller?
The issue of moral education. I'm going to open the conversation a little bit more. I've been to some of the schools and I observed moral education. What we know moral education to be years ago has broadened, has changed.
What was it years ago?
It was simply on the basis of Christianity. Now, moral education now have to be open. Sexual immorality in school, the respect for male and female, respect for the institution and what the motto of the institution stands for. That moral education has to start even at the early childhood level. If you go to early childhood centers or primary schools, you hardly find moral ed teachers or persons dispensing that aspect. It's mostly in the secondary school. But by that time you get to secondary school, you already develop a lot of bad habits. Traits that it's difficult to reverse. We need to put moral education in the equation more early. And we have to open the conversation. We are too afraid to open the conversation of moral education to the issues that are affecting the minors. Sure. Sex, social media, the impact of the social media, how it's being used, all that falls under moral education for me. We need to open a conversation.
I want to say that I feel privileged because my early childhood school, my primary school, and my high school, we were biblically inclined morning, noon, and afternoon before you leave for school. And when I was in high school, it was religious instruction before it changed to the name of moral education. I knew it to be moral education when I went on to sixth form at another school. Right. That's when I knew it to be moral education. But I had a very strong religious text at all schools. Right. So this is like all new to me. But what I will say is that most of the things that are happening goes way back to the home. In the Tobago space, long ago, it would have been that it takes a village to raise a child. Now, the village cannot even speak to a child. When I was going to school, my mom wrote a letter, and now I look back at it and it's funny to me, because my mom wrote a letter to the teachers giving them permission to spank me for anything. Like every single teacher had permission to do such. But in this 21st century society, you cannot do that to a child because it goes to and they took out corporal punishment. So all of that is a whole big deal, which I was totally against, because some of them, like Saiga in primary school, was real needed, and I really learned from that. So if we really want to talk about school violence and the nitty-gritty of things, we need to talk about the village, the parents, everything, because it comes down again to a whole set of things. The security guards and stuff like that, some of them do play an integral part while others don't. So we have to balance the scale when we're talking about these things. Whereas on some instances, as Elijah would have said, you are confident in a guidance counselor and they change them rapidly. It goes on and on and on and you change them. So what I would like to ask before we wrap this discussion is, what are the advices, well, you gave yours, but what are the advices do you actually have as a student to other students who feel the need to lash out and they have no one to turn to that they confide in? But we could all confide in God, surely. Right. But what are some of the other methods that you, as some student system, because you know sometimes we don't listen to the adults, we listen to our peers. So give your peers some advice on what you think that they should do before they take that ultimatum of doing the worst.
As we talk about guidance counseling, I just want to piggyback to our previous point. The moral ed. I know that, well, from our other siblings, that there was something called VCCE, which was supposed to be like moral ed in a primary school sphere. That was after I left primary school. So I don't know how that goes, because I know it came up within my time at school, but it was just like a little something that the ministry wanted you to do, and that was it. Like, you did it for like 1 year, and then you never heard or seen from it again. I think that was a part for like some SE assessment or something like that. And then more learning to high school now. In the first year, you learn about, your different values, your morals, pillars of character, and stuff like that. And then eventually, more it takes a different turn, I like to say, and it goes into sex and HIV, AIDS, and those different STIs, STDs. So I think it may be due time for it to be revisited. Definitely. To see what is important, because students would just go through first form, learn more lead, and then when you come to upper school, you might hardly ever remember some of the morals and values that you learn. You would more remember the stuff you did in second form, third form, going up. So I think we need to put a little more emphasis on the values and stuff that you would learn in the first form. Right. Probably extend it also even into second form, so you balance it out. You know that, yes, we have stuff like STI, sex, different relationships, but we also have, the morals, because morals and your values is what could carry you very far in this life. If you have the right morals, the right values, if you face anything, you'd be able to face it and go through it. The advice I want to give to the students, violence is not the answer. It's not your first answer to begin with. You have your friends, anti-friends that you have. Be the bigger one, be the influence. Don't be the instigator telling them, you know what, fight them, me, I go come and I go jump in for you. No. Talk to them, reason with them. I believe I used to have a very impulsive nature growing up, and eventually I learned that rash actions like these, when you look back at it and you see the consequences, you don't want to deal with them. I'm not saying that I got into trouble or stuff like that, but you want to think before you act. Think before you act. Think, how will this affect me? How will it affect others? How will it affect me now? How will it affect me down the road? Talk to your parents if you feel safe. Talk to a trusted adult, or talk to your peers. Let them know how you feel. Talk to the teachers even as well too. And also to parents. Your children are your best interests at heart. You should reach out to them at the end of the school day. How was your day? What happened? Show interest within your child and how the stuff go, because you never know what happened during the day while they were not with you, and maybe they might open up to you and come out and you all could talk about it and you can help them. But to the students, think before you act. Think before you act. Violence is not your first answer. Talk it out, reason it out.
Any parting words?
I quite agree with everything he has said. I want to implore the parents to be more interactive with their children. They come home from school, they don't ask them nothing. Sometimes the parent not even home. I mean, yes, they have to work, but we have to find that time. It is important, because we will find the time if something goes wrong. True. So we have to find that time to dialogue with them. Give them that sense of security as a parent supposed to give a child that, listen, I'm interested in what is happening with you day to day. Not just exam time, not just time to buy the school books, or to buy the sneakers, or when you get in trouble. It must be a day-to-day interaction that gives you that level of comfort between parent and student. It will help in a long way.
All right. And what I would add my 2 cents here, because I always have a 2 cents. The village, the parents, everybody, what I'm going to say here is really part of the topic that we really never want to talk about, but they are damaged parents that need to fix themselves before they start fixing their children. And what they do to their kids is just a cycle of what has been done to them, and it's cycled back to what their children will do to other people. So we need to get to the nitty-gritty of things, and by all means, conversation is what we don't have, because in the yesteryear before my time, what our parents and our foreparents went to was licks and all those stuff. You need to conversate with your children, have a conversation with them, find out why you behaving like this. If they take 4 or 5 days to talk, sit there, be patient with them. You will be patient if you're running against a woman or a man to get in a relationship with them. So be patient with your child and ensure that you sit and you listen and you don't judge your children. And if they need counseling, you don't tell them that is a white people thing. You listen to your child and go according with your child and ensure that they get what they need to get. Because at the end of the day, the child is a reflection of you, and when trouble comes, you have to deal with it. Yes. So, on that being said, remember, stay tuned to Tobago Updates, Youth Wednesdays, and remember to share the life, share the life, share the life.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning. This world is getting so cold. I wanna keep running like a soldier. Somebody must
Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
Every new birth that you are able to safely deliver to us is a win for our country as a whole, for the society as a whole. You basically have in your hands the ability to deliver our greatest potentials in every single newborn baby.
One of the indicators we look at is the health of mothers and the health of babies. It is actually one of the few numbers that we look at internationally to determine how healthy a society is. And you play the most critical roles as it relates to the health of both mommy, in possibly the moment when she is most afraid, where she is most nervous, where she is probably most at risk. You play that absolutely critical role.
Those were some words of appreciation extended to midwives of the Tobago Regional Health Authority at this year's International Midwives Day celebrations in Tobago. On an annual basis, they play a part in the delivery of hundreds of babies on the island. For many mothers, midwives continue to support them even after leaving the hospital.
The midwives at the Scarborough General Hospital, they took care of me physically, mentally, and spiritually. They took their time to stay by my bedside many nights when I couldn't sleep. When I left the hospital after being a patient there for a month and maybe about 5 days, it was not just seeing them and say goodbye. My son, he will be 4 years old. And today,
I could stand here safely and say the nurses and the midwives at the Scarborough General Hospital has continuously been my roots.
Currently, there are 31 midwives on rotation at the Scarborough General Hospital's maternity department. The midwives were congratulated for the work they continue to do in spite of the threat of COVID-19.
The midwives have done an exceptional job during this past 2 years, having to deal with both COVID-infected mothers and non-COVID mothers. This is something that there was a bit of reluctance in the beginning, but I'm happy to say there are no issues, significant issues, with our management.
This year, International Midwives Day was observed under the theme 100 Years of Progress. The Tobago-based celebrations were done at the Scarborough General Hospital. Midwives are an imperative part of our healthcare system since they preserve the lives of our present and future generations.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Back to the Tobago Updates Morning Show. I am Johnny Campbell, coming to you live from Port Mall, Tobago. We just had a very engaging and insightful conversation with persons who came to speak to us about the issue of school-based violence. Now we are shifting gears a little bit, and there's a lot happening in the Tobago space, and there's a lot of Tobago persons that are doing great things. And this morning, one of them will be speaking with us, and this is none other than Miss Darianne Phillips, the only representative in the Iwa Africa Fashion Extravaganza that will be held on the 26th of June at 4 p.m. at the Garden Theatre at Queen's Hall. Good morning, and how are you?
Good morning. I am good. And you?
I am feeling quite superb this morning. Nice. Tell us about your involvement in this extravaganza.
Okay, so back in 2016, a friend of mine who I met at university invited me to be a part of the Emancipation Support Committee fashion show. At that time, it was named Kuru Africa. So they had Kuru Africa 1 to 5, and then now they changed it a little bit to Iwa Africa. I participated in 3 of the shows. 2016, 2018, and 2019. And being the only designer seamstress from Tobago, it feels good all the time. And you know, they're always coming back, and they're always making sure you're in, you know, and of course I would never say no. Well, I had to say no in 2017 because I had just made my son. So it was a little bit hard to be up and down and getting stuff made and preparing a collection and all of that. But I am beyond excited about this year because it is seeming to be a little bit different. It is now directed by Mr. Richard Young, and if anybody knows Mr. Richard Young, you just know it's going to be an amazing show, right? Because he just put his whole heart, his everything into the show, and he ain't want no second halfway kind of thing at all. So it's proper thing coming out here to, Sunday.
Well, yeah, Darianne said it's proper thing coming out Sunday. You know, I got to know that it's a Nubian Renaissance, right? Yes. So, you know, tell us a little bit about Nubian wear. Is it that you are fond of creating those pieces?
So my thing is this: I don't think that we should have to. Okay, so I understand protocol and all of that as it relates to proper garments and proper construction, but when you don't have to be black or navy blue or gray all the time. We could have the same proper covered garments in a bright color, yeah, in a nice print, in a vibrant print. You know, you don't have to always be boring. Now, I'm not saying that black is boring, because you could, you know,
yeah, because I
dress it up. And the thing is, you look amazing.
Thank you.
Right? But the suit and the thing and the always. No, you could add a little flair to it and still be professional and still be proper.
So you think that the Nubian or the African prince add that
Yeah,
flair?
the vibrancy, the radiance of it, yeah.
Yeah, indeed, because I'm looking at this garment that you constructed and I want it. I want it.
Sure.
You know, tell us about, you know, the construction of a garment like this.
Okay, so this is literally just like a simple coat. So it's more like what I wanted to get from it was the coat vibes, the winter coat kind of vibe. But we're in the Caribbean, so you can't really do that because the place hot. So you could change it up a little bit. You still have the fold and the flare of the coat, because if you notice, well, you wouldn't notice on the TV, but if you notice, I still had the tie in the back and everything, just like the coats would have, but without sleeves, so I could still keep cool in the weather.
You know, I'm glad that you mentioned that, you know, because a lot of times we try to mimic European styles and we're living in such a hot climate.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah, it really doesn't work. But what can we expect from you in this showcase? What are you bringing to the table?
All right, so Mr. Richard Young, like I said, once he's a part of anything, it's proper things, right? So he has everybody's story lining up. And everybody, well, it's over 15 designers would be at the show. And everybody's story would run into the entire production. My story is about the African woman. At one point, the African woman was expected to be the perfect mother, the perfect wife, the perfect everything. Just do that kind of thing. And the expectation is still there today. It may not be as heavy as it was, but it's still there today. What I'm trying to show in my collection this time is that I could be, or women could be, you could be a career woman, you could be the nonchalant woman who just don't really care. You could be the entrepreneur, you could be whatever, and you could still do it in African way and still show vibrancy and still have that connection with your roots.
You know, how has it been preparing for such a showcase? And I'm assuming that this is very time-consuming and demanding, but I know that you love fashion and I know that you love it.
And that's the thing, like, it doesn't even feel like a burden. It doesn't feel like a burden. Like, the story came because we had a meeting, of course, and then when I listened, because I missed the meeting, when I listened to Mr. Richard speak and how he wanted to let everything flow and his vibe that he wanted to get from it, it's almost immediately it came to me. And I just always say, always hear me say, my homie, when my homie talk to me, my homie's God, when my homie talk to me, I just listen. He said, do this, I'm doing it. Right? And immediately after listening to that, the story came and the pieces just started coming to mind. When I started cutting, it's just, I'm not the designer who would take the time to draw and then make a pattern. No. I go, I have my story, I have the fabric, and then God does the rest.
Okay,
He does the rest.
So it's more like a freelance kind of freestyle kind of thing that you're doing. You just have ideas and you're letting it flow with the fabrics. That's pretty awesome. But you know, we really want to hear a little bit about your story as a fashion designer. How did you reach to this point and how did euphoric designs come into being?
Right, so I just always tell this, and I don't think my parents will be kind of pleased about it, but initially it started with me just wanting to adjust clothes because I was always small and I couldn't find clothes to fit and everything was always too big here or too long there or something. And I got my financial assistance from the government because I was studying at the time, and I used from that and I bought a sewing machine and I went back to Barbados. And when I got there, I didn't even know how to thread the machine. I did not know how to thread the machine. I buy a whole machine and don't know what to do with the machine. Right? And just the other day I folded up and I was like, this is the first skirt that I ever made and I still have it. Right? But everything just kind of fall into place after that, one after the next. I have 6 sisters and every single one of them was used as a guinea pig. So by the time I got home from vacation, school, I was making clothes for everybody. That year we went to Great Fete and I outfit everybody. I mean, I'm not very proud of the pieces that was there then, because then there wasn't the best. But it was, from that, it's just, and business in my blood. Business has been in my blood. So even then, people, I mean, like I say, it wasn't the best at the time. But after the years, like constantly posting on Instagram, constantly, you see yourself, you are your brand, eh?
Yeah.
So once I wear something, I get orders.
Okay.
Wear something and I post it, I get orders. And I think that's just how it has been growing. I have never paid for any kind of advertisement or anything like that, marketing in no kind of big way. It was just, everything just kind of started to flow on its own. And I said, well, yeah, this is me. It had to be me. Because, yes, I just put in plenty work. I put in a lot of work, I put in a lot of hours. But at the same time, it comes a lot easier than people make it seem.
Did you continue to pursue your studies while you were sewing?
Yeah, I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and finance.
Lovely. So, you know, how are you able to balance between the normal 8-to-4 job and the sewing?
I would say stick to your schedule, stick to your routine, right? I also have a son, so everything I am, and I plan from in advance.
Right.
So 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up cutting to make sure that by the time I reach home from work, I could just sew. My son has to leave home before 7, so get he ready, get myself ready, get to work on time. Most of the time I'll be a little bit late, probably like 10-15 minutes. That's not every day. And then once I get home from work is routine again. So 2-3 pieces, knock out 2-3 pieces. Once I get that done, get through homework with my son, a little bit of reading, bed, 8 o'clock. If I am not in bed by 8, problems next day.
You know, there was a poem written by Maya Angelou about phenomenal woman, and I think, Darian, you are one of them, because you are able to keep up such an awesome balance within your life. And I'm glad that the fashion pieces that you are bringing to the table come Sunday, you know, they are really reflecting the evolution of women. Yes. You know, we are powerful, we can do it all, and you know, we are not limited to any traditional expectations. Nope. We are evolving and doing great things. So I really want to commend you.
Thank you.
You know, as we kind of wrap up this interview, I want you to tell us about how persons can be able to see the fashion show.
Okay, they usually have the videos and the live and that kind of thing. I don't think that they're broadcasting it live, but the show is at the Garden Theatre in Queen's Hall. We could make arrangements for tickets. I'll be telling lies if I tell you the exact price of the ticket, but I could get the information. Yeah, and they could contact me if they in Trinidad and they want to come to the show.
How can they contact you?
My contact information is 463-4657.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Darian.
You're
and we
welcome.
look forward to seeing much, much, much more from you. And we wish you all the best in your endeavors Sunday and going forward.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, you know, there's this segment that we sometimes often forget, but it's very important. And this is none other than the Tobago Back in the Day segment. We have some pictures coming up here. Viewers, on the live, I would like to see if any one of you knows the correct answer. To the old schoolers or the persons who are accustomed with that kind of being around that environment, I want to see if you know the answer. Comment in the comment section and the answer will be posted to you soon. Right, we have the pictures rolling. You know, we will continue to have the pictures rolling shortly, but I would really like to see that somebody at least gets the correct answer today, right? We'll come to you with the correct answer shortly. I am Janae Campbell, and this is none other than the Tobago Updates Morning Show.
And look at me face to face. Good morning. Good morning, morning, good morning, morning. Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning. This world is getting so cold. I I wanna keep running like a soldier. Somebody must have touched my soul, cause there ain't no stopping till it's over.
Know about a crime? Report a crime safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. You can play your part safely and anonymously. Report a crime. Earn a reward. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime. Be a hero. Champion. Fearless citizen. Be a crime stopper safely and anonymously. Call 800-TIPS. Help stop crime.
It's a different type of thing down there. And we party till we drop down there. With a lot of pretty girls down there. Down in Tobago.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show. It's all about Youth Wednesday, and this show has been nothing but phenomenal. Earlier, we just spoke about the Tobago back in the day. So I want you to tell us if persons have been responding on the live with responses.
But responses are the answer. So persons would have said Scarborough Library, old library, Scarborough Library, old Scarborough Library, which is indeed the answer. And I guessed it also because I think that everybody would have known the answer.
Wow, well, I'm ashamed because I did not know the answer. Viewers, when I saw the pictures, I was like, what is this?
Danny,
what is
you
this?
recognize them benches?
No, I didn't study the benches, you know. To be honest, this look like the library in Trinidad, if you ask me. It's the same color, everything.
Well, you're a little young, you know. So
yeah, I'm really young. I grew up seeing the old mall, that Brown Mall. You know which mall I'm talking about? The one that they demolished some years ago and has nothing going on there. I don't know what's going on with that mall. But that's the mall I grew up on. That's the only thing of significance I knew on that stretch. So I'm sorry, I didn't know about this old library. Right. But I'm glad that Tobago Updates has forums like this where we can go right back and become informed.
I noticed I need to take a little historical journey along the island. But viewers, Johnny challenged me last week and I came prepared, and nobody had a birthday this week.
But Alia, there will always be persons with birthday. We just don't have their pictures. So at this point in time, viewers, we are going to open the floor to none other than Alia Holder, who has prepared a spoken word piece for you all, and she will be wishing you all a happy birthday. If you know someone that has a birthday, be sure to tell them that Alia wished them happy birthday.
Israel, short viewers, it's 2 lines, but anyways, it fills my heart with philanthropic joy and cardiac palpitations to wish you a happy birthday. Remember, just like the tick on the clock, your 365 days each year, I remember of each luck, each nut that life throws at you, to shake up and remember that the ocean is still blue. And happy birthday to you.
You know, coffee house. Excellent piece.
I enjoyed the show this morning with Johnny. Like, this was a really nice show. Real interesting.
Yeah,
energy was vibe.
I find me and Alia energy is real.
You know, we
connect.
Real.
Yeah, we are connect. If all I agree, you know, you could drop it in the comment section.
I feel it's a country girl thing, but anyways, you know, we're gonna leave it there.
Yeah,
so viewers, it was nice being here with you guys today. Stay tuned for Good Morning Tobago with Candice Jackson. And remember to
share the life, share the life, share the life.
Hey. Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na. Wake up with Candace and Denise. Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say
up and hail me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones. We special and there is no denying. Tobago is number one. I am you and you are me. Together we stronger. Good morning Tobago. Good morning Tobago. Good morning Tobago. Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na. Wake up with Candace and Denasia.
Let's go, go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hail me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is
Tobago, Trinidad, I am Candace. The Best Tourism Village is part of a global initiative. Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, the Ministry of Tourism, all villages in Trinidad and Tobago were invited to apply. Castara is among the top 3 villages on the island to be considered for the award, which will be announced later this year. On the Some Other News, a man is facing 2.5 years of hard labor after he was found guilty of stealing a wig to pay for his outstanding debts. 31-year-old Sherlan Irvin was tried virtually before Magistrate Rajendra Rambachan at the Scarborough Magistrate Court yesterday. According to police reports, Irvin broke into the Early Bird Mini Mart in Government House Road and stole several items, including a wig, worth almost $5,800. Investigation police to Irvin's home in Black Rock, where the items were recovered. He pleaded guilty to the offense. When questioned by the magistrate, Irvin said he stole the items to pay outstanding debts. Now more from news on a national scale. Efforts are being made to ensure there is adequate supply of flour for all citizens throughout the rest of the year. But it will come at a cost. According to a press release from National Flour Mills, the cost of wheat went up by 4 to 9%. However, the new cost to wholesalers will go up by 33%. And retail customers will experience an increase of 28% on the grocery shelves. This means that a 10-pound bag of flour will now cost $100. The price increase is a direct result of ongoing conflicts between Russia and Ukraine. NFM however says this is a temporary measure until the situation changes and the price reduces globally. Now, as you see that we are again being faced with some price challenges because going into the weekend, we found out that rice was going to increase, as well as there was going to be a shortage of rice. But now we're hearing flour again. Flour went up just in March. Flour goes up again as of this week. And you know, no matter what happens, the food bill continues to go up. And there are many people that are saying that, hey, the food bill goes up, but the salaries remain the same.
and many people are continuing to be frustrated because it is getting more and more expensive to just eat. I mean, and of course it's one of those things that we are looking forward to seeing what the THA has in mind for food security for Tobago. Well, as we have the budget coming up tomorrow, yes folks, tomorrow is a THA budget presentation which will be made in the House by Chief Secretary and Secretary of Finance, Trade and the Economy, Mr. Fali Augustine. And it will be his inaugural budget presentation as Secretary of Finance, and we'll be looking forward to see what comes out of it. I mean, he said that it would be a budget that will be centered on green policies. Green meaning, you know, sustainable, you know, with less impact on the environment and that sort of thing. He would also be presenting a comprehensive economic development plan. Now, we had such a plan that began in 2007. It was a two-part plan. There was the 1.0 version and there was a 2.0 version which ended in 2017. Now, the previous administration kept telling us that they were working on another development plan, but we didn't see that come to fruition, or we didn't see a presentation of that plan rather. Neither did we see an evaluation on the plan that went before. So we're also looking forward to see what the Chief Secretary has in place to ensure that plan that he is going to present or present from, first of all, whether or not we'll be able to see that plan, and second of all, you know, what are the measures being in place to hold the THA accountable to making sure that that plan does, you know, come to fruition. So, you know, lots of things yesterday happening in this space. So now we're just going to go to a quick break and we'll be right back.
For plants for your garden or even a thoughtful gift for a friend, we at Eden Nurseries are waiting to welcome you with our affordable prices and variety of indoor and outdoor plants, flowers, palms, soil blends, pots, landscaping services, maintenance, irrigation services, and water features. Visit our garden shop and nursery Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. located at the back of Orange Hill Gas Station, Shore Park, Tobago, or call us 639-0776 and let us help you bring your garden to life.
Hello, Crime Stoppers?
This is Crime Stoppers. Please share only your crime information.
I want to report a crime, but I need to make sure it will not be traced back to me.
Caller, I assure you, there's no record of this call other than the information you give us and the tip number I assign you for you to call back and check on your reward. This system has worked in 26 countries for more than 40 years.
Help stop crime. Call Crime Stoppers at 800-TIPS today. Calls are safe and 100% anonymous.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na.
Welcome back on Tobago updates, and of course I am Candace Jackson. Joining me on the line, because yes, we're having a conversation. I'm on the outside. Some of the people on the outside, and we've had Tobago updates. But we have joining us is Mr. Shane Mohammed. Good morning to you, Mr. Shane Mohammed. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I'm pretty well. How are you?
I am good. So viewers, now of course you know we are Tobago updates, and then we are going to be doing things big as we do, and of course tomorrow we have a special show planned for the budget presentation. Of course the budget presentation starts at 10 a.m. but from 9 9:30, we will be live and bringing to you up-to-date analysis on the matter. But of course, Dr. Shay Mohammed is actually one of those persons that's going to be on our panel tomorrow, and he's going to be with us in Tobago tomorrow. So, Dr. Shay, first of all, can you just give us an idea of, what are you looking forward to tomorrow's presentations towards?
The first thing that I think I'm looking forward to is actually there are two things: job employment, looking to see what the Chief Secretary puts forward in order to generate employment on the ground in Tobago in order to keep Tobago alive, keep the economy abreast, and keep it robust. Because what is happening in our country now is that we are finding ourselves quickly having a brain drain, and therefore that brain drain doesn't only touch and concern Trinidad, but it's very important in the Tobago space. So that's one, employment generation. Yes. Two, food security. I believe that Tobago has capacity to grow its own food and raise its own poultry and that sort of thing. Poultry, livestock, yes. Thank you very much for that. I think Tobago has the ability to rear the necessary food and livestock that is needed to be self-sufficient in terms of food security. That's the first thing. The second thing, I believe the Chief Secretary is very much people-centered and people-driven individual, and he's using that people-centered and people-driven personality that he has in the way he governs the THA and how he looks to approach the whole governance structure in Tobago. So I see it being people-centered. I see it people-driven. I would look also to see what he does with regard to if there's any element of education, land tenure, land tenureship, and land security. Those are the four main aspects, because the way I look at it, health is covered very well. Dr. Faith B. Israel has been doing a really great job in the area of health. The Secretary I will also look to see what he's doing with regard to tourism and how much money is generated and invested into the tourism industry, which meets the vision of Secretary Tasha Grace Boris, because she has a comprehensive plan that for Tobago, both at the short, medium, and long term. And I think that's very important, because when you look at us from a macro scale, Trinidad and Tobago is losing out significantly by the fact that we don't have the refinery up and running. I just saw that the oil prices rose again yesterday, and we're not benefiting from that, right? So really and truly, it's all about looking at Tobago as a model of alternative resources in how they go forward, and how does the THA manage Tobago alternatively to Trinidad and the PNM government from a national perspective.
In the previous years, the THA has presented a budget that was more than 50% of what they would be allocated in October when the Minister of Finance reads the budget. Now, this was something that the PDP would have complained about when they were in the minority, that the budgets that were presented in June were far and above. So in essence, what Tobago presented was a wish list. Do you think that we can expect a change or something different this time around, or something that is more realistic in line with what's expected to get in October?
Yes, I think what I do believe is that the THA and the Chief Secretary is not about to create a scenario where they repeat the errors of the past. That's one. I believe that they are determined to become and to be very cost effective and give Tobago the value for the money, the value for their money that they rightfully deserve. In saying that, I believe that the chief secretary is going to be robust. He's going to be very succinct, very it's going to be a compact, I envision that's going to be a very compact budget presentation that does not leave room for wastage, because every dollar counts in these hard times in Trinidad and Tobago. I also think there's going to be much focus on infrastructure, and I think there's a lot of potential for job creation under the Secretary of Infrastructure, as well as under the Secretary of Settlements and Land and Urban Development. However, it is yet to be seen how innovative and to what extent of innovation and creativity the Chief Secretary goes or utilizes, I should say, to achieve his overall mandate and overall goals. So I don't think that, to put it in layman's terms and to sum it up for you, there's much much is expected from the Chief Secretary, but I also don't believe for a second that Tobago bought cat and bag in this administration. And this is not me just being biased towards them. This is me observing them from afar, and observing that they are steadfast and they are working like with blinders on, laser focused on achieving their goals.
Right, certainly. And of course, we're definitely looking forward to what happens tomorrow. But I'm switching gears a little bit as to what's happening on a national scale. Now, we saw that the NUGFW had a meeting with the CPO yesterday, and they're saying that negotiations are breaking down in regards to, salary increases and so on, and with the offers from the CPO. We had over the Labor Day weekend, the labor unions all stating that they have no confidence in the Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley. What is your take on all these recent developments in regards to those wage negotiations?
Now, I am very much, as a political scientist, trade unions and the importance of trade unionism is a very important aspect in our study and in our teaching, right? That's the first thing I would say. And I believe that trade unions play a very important and critical role as it pertains to the rights of workers. With that said, however, I believe that far too often in our country, trade unions cross the very thin line between trade unionism and politics. And you cannot play politics with the livelihood of people with the working class, I should say, right? That's what I would start this with. When the first negotiation took place and the 2% was offered, my advice, public advice to the trade unions, was to go back to the negotiation table. And they wanted to jump from 2% to 15%, which I believe is extremely unreasonable given the state of our economy, given the fact that we as a nation have been stagnated, whether directly, indirectly, whether intentionally or unintentionally. We've been stagnated economically, right? So therefore, my belief in I believe in wage negotiation, and I believe very strongly in collective bargaining. But I believe in it to the point that it is objective and reasonable, and it is reasonable as it pertains to what exists in the Treasury and what is available to government in order to even embark in wage negotiations and the collective bargaining process. With that said, I suggested that the trade unions go from 2% to negotiating for 5%. And
okay, so Dr. Mohammed, are you saying that Sorry, are you saying that you do not agree with the no confidence motion in Dr. Rowley over this issue?
Yes, I think at this point in time, it's very frivolous and it is unfair to the Prime Minister because he was one of those who said that to go back to the negotiation table, and we have to take into consideration that the public sector, public servants are not the only ones that are going to be asking for going to be entering into the collective bargaining process. I mean, everybody else is going to follow suit. So therefore, the government is going to have to put out a large wage bill in order to meet the demands of or the requests of the working class. What is unfortunate, however, is that the government took too long, in my opinion, to enter into these wage negotiations. And to be negotiating from 2014 all the way to 2018, I believe, or 2020, the government was in power since 2015. Why it is in the first 5 years we did right. So why it is therefore my strategy as a leader and my strategy as a Prime Minister would have been, in my first day in office, look at the economy, look at the treasury, and deal with wage negotiations within that period of time. And then, if or when I won the second term in office, I would have dealt with wage negotiations for that period of time. What you have now is that you are dealing with an aggressive, a robust, and an angry mob, is what I would call them, of trade unionists who are upset over the fact that the Prime Minister has not, he has, you see, he's found himself within a rock and a hard place. In my opinion, my initial thought was 5%, and I would sit down and tell my Labour Minister to intervene and explain to them why 5%, but I would say 4% is better than 2, and 2% is better than none. Taking into consideration that they are not the only ones that are in need of increases in salaries. So to our teachers, so to just the medical services, the doctors and nurses that are in the front line. So to the protective services. So therefore, I will not say that wage negotiations warrant a motion of no confidence in the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister's strategy was wrong in that it should have been dealt with in a periodical time frame. But I also believe that there has to be a level of rational and reasonability and reasoning on the part of the trade unions as to what exists in the Treasury as it pertains to what is available to or set aside for wage negotiations, collective bargaining, and salaries.
All right, well, Dr. Mohammed, I just want to thank you so much for joining us. And of course, viewers, we're going to hear more from Dr. Mohammed tomorrow because he will be with us on set because we have a wonderful show for you planned. It's all about the budget. I mean, this is a big deal for the present THA, of course. This is their first term in office, their first year, their first budget presentation. We are really, really looking forward to see what Chief Secretary Fali Augustine is going to be bringing for us, especially since we didn't even have a budget last year because, you know, the House was divided and we didn't have a House Constitution. Let me say that. So yes, so we're going to see Dr. Shane Mohammed. We're going to see a number, we have a number of economists and business persons that are in key sectors around Tobago that will be speaking to us on various aspects of the bill. So we're going to have a pre-show that starts at 9:30 in the morning and following the budget presentation actually starts at 10 a.m. So we're going to go live to the plenary and we're going to hear from the Chief Secretary then, and then after that we will have an hour show. But we're not done there because at night we are going to have another show in the night and bring you more analysis, and then over the next couple of weeks we will be diving deep into what was presented what will be presented, tomorrow. So that's it from me, Candice Jackson, wishing you a wonderful, safe and productive day, and we'll see you again bright and early in the morning.
Yeah. Hey.
Tobago updates. Na 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 na. Good morning, Tobago. Na 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 na. Wake up with Candice and Denasia.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power. We are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers. We are melanated ones.